I'm a huge fan of the series The White Lotus, and the latest season flirts with a lot of Buddhist ideas. So I want to share some of the core teachings I think the writers might be drawing from. By the way, I won't talk about any major plot points for those of you yet to watch it, but I will reference a couple of scenes in episode 5 and 6, so consider that your spoiler warning. Firstly, there's this absolutely magnificent outpouring by Sam Rockwell. Regardless of if you have any interest in the series, I promise some of the best minutes in your life await you if you go onto YouTube and type in Sam Rockwell monologue about being an Asian girl. To give you a sense of what to expect, imagine a really insightful exploration of non-dualism and non-identity, except instead of it coming from a Dharma master, it's coming from a middle-aged nymphomaniac hitman. I'd read it out aloud here, but let's just say it's a little too colorful. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this scene where Tim, a millionaire financial mogul, sits down with a famous monk. Or, in the words of his lorazepam guzzling wife, played by Parker Posey, some Buddhist guru. It's quite a beautiful scene, and the wise teacher says the following. When you're born, you are like a single drop of water flying upward, separated from the one giant consciousness. You get older, you descend back down, you die, you land back in the water, become one with the ocean again. No more separated, no more suffering. One consciousness, death is a happy return like coming home. Now, I find that wonderfully poetic, but not something I felt was particularly in line with the Buddhist teachings that I've come across. That last part about being happy to die as a mechanism to end suffering, that seemed kind of odd to me because as I understand in Buddhism, the path to nirvana, i.e. no suffering, is to transcend to a place where you have no attachment, no cravings, and no ego. Death can get you there technically, I suppose, but I don't think that's the teaching. I don't think you're supposed to have to die to get there. So I would imagine that, an acclaimed teacher wouldn't say something that talks about death as an answer. The writers were probably just trying to drive Tim's storyline, given he's going through a pretty rough time. But I did really like the imagery of water nonetheless, so I wanted to see where that might have come from. And there's a few possibilities. Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist legend who actually just passed away a couple of years ago, said, quote, "Enlightenment for a wave in the ocean is the moment the wave realizes it is water." End quote. So that could be what they're getting at here, that there is no inherent separation between the self and the larger reality. The wave is not separate from the ocean, it is the ocean, simply taking the form of a wave for a short time. Pretty cool and similar water-based vibes. But I dug deeper and I found a read that was really, really special, and thank you to Bodhidharma 1 for helping me find this. It's a reflection on nirvana by Shunryu Suzuki, a Japanese author and Zen master, from his book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, first published in 1970. And I'm going to share the whole passage because I think it relates really nicely to our fictional monk's little speech, and it certainly helped me look at consciousness in a different way. Here it is. I went to Yosemite National Park and I saw some huge waterfalls. The highest one there is 1,340 feet high, and from it the water comes down like a curtain thrown from the top of the mountains. It does not seem to come down swiftly, as you might expect. It seems to come down very slowly because of the distance. And the water does not come down as one stream, but it is separated into many tiny streams. From a distance, it looks like a curtain. And I thought it must be a very difficult experience for each drop of water to come down from the top of such a huge mountain. It takes time, a long time for the water to finally reach the bottom of the waterfall. And it seems to me that our human life may be like this. We have many difficult experiences in our life, but at the same time, I thought, the water was not originally separated, but was one whole river. Only when it is separated does it have some difficulty in falling. It is as if the water does not have any feeling when it is one whole river. Only when it is separated into many drops can it begin to have or express some feeling. When we see one whole river, we do not feel the living activity of the water, but when we dip a part of the water into a dipper, we experience some feeling of the water. And we also feel the value of the person who uses the water. Feeling ourselves and the water in this way, we cannot use it in just a material way. It is a living thing. Before we were born, we had no feeling. We were one with the universe. This is called mind only, or essence of mind, or big mind. After we are separated by birth from this oneness, as the water falling from the waterfall is separated by the wind and the rocks, then we have feeling. You have difficulty because you have feeling. You attach to the feeling you have without knowing just how this kind of feeling is created. When you do not realize that you are one with the river or one with the universe, you have fear. Whether it is separated into drops or not, water is water. Our life and death are the same thing. When we realize this fact, we have no fear of death anymore, and we have no actual difficulty in our life. When the water returns to its original oneness with the river, it no longer has any individual feeling to it. It resumes its own nature and finds composure. How very glad the water must be to come back to the original water. If this is so, what feeling will we have when we die? I think we are like the water in the dipper. We will have composure then, perfect composure. It may be too perfect for us just now, because we are so much attached to our own feeling, to our individual existence. For us, just now, we have some fear of death, but after we resume our true original nature, there is nirvana. That is why we say, to attain nirvana is to pass away. To pass away is not a very adequate expression. Perhaps to pass on, or to go on, or to join would be better. Will you try and find some better expression for death? When you find it, you will have quite a new interpretation of your life. It will be like my experience when I saw the water in the big waterfall. Imagine, it was 1,340 feet high. We say everything comes out of emptiness. One whole river or one whole mind is emptiness. When we reach this understanding, we find the true meaning of our life. When we reach this understanding, we can see the beauty of human life. Before we realize this fact, everything that we see is just delusion. Sometimes we overestimate the beauty. Sometimes we underestimate or ignore the beauty because our small mind is not in accord with reality. To talk about it this way is quite easy, but to have the actual feelings is not so easy. When you sit with your whole body and mind, and with the oneness of your mind and body under the control of the universal mind, you can easily attain this kind of right understanding. Your everyday life will be renewed without being attached to an old, erroneous interpretation of life. When you realize this fact, you will discover how meaningless your old interpretation was, and how much useless effort you had been making. You will find the true meaning of life. And even though you have difficulty falling upright from the top of the waterfall to the bottom of the mountain, you will enjoy your life. Isn't that an interesting passage? And so again, I don't think the idea is death is a release, but rather finding a state similar to death in its lack of attachment is the release. My name is Jonah Primo. This is the Overexamined Life. See you next time.